Trump and Macron hinted new Iran nuclear deal. U.S. President Donald Trump and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron have suggested there could be a new agreement on Iran's nuclear program. After talks in the U.S., Mr. Trump, who is skeptical of an accord that was struck in 2015, spoke about doing a much bigger, maybe, deal. Mr. Macron said a new pact must cover Iran's ballistic missile program and its role in the Middle East. Iran warned of severe consequences if the U.S. withdraws from the deal. In 2015, Iran agreed to mothball its nuclear program in return for an easing of economic sanctions on Iran. The U.S. president has been threatening to reject an extension of the Obama-era nuclear pact reached between Tehran and world powers by a 12th of May deadline. Mr. Macron has been lobbying Mr. Trump to stick with the deal, saying there was no better option. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel is due to visit the U.S. on Friday to make a last-minute bid to dissuade Mr. Trump from potentially torpedoing the agreement. Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif was quoted as saying that Tehran would most likely abandon the accord if the U.S. pulled out. Could the Iran nuclear deal collapse? Oil at $75 as Iran sanction fears mount. Trump-Macron bromance in the making? What did Trump and Macron say in Washington? "I think we will have a great shot at doing a much bigger, maybe, deal," the U.S. president said, adding that any new agreement must be built on solid foundations. "They should have made a deal that covered Yemen, that covered Syria, that covered other parts of the Middle East," said Mr. Trump, referring to the 2015 accord which he described as insane. Meanwhile, Mr. Macron agreed that Tehran's influence in the region must be part of negotiations. He also stressed that, as well as controlling Iran's nuclear program for the next decade as envisaged by the current agreement, a fresh deal would need to cover its nuclear activities longer term, as well as its ballistic missile program. And he talked about working with President Trump to build a new framework in the Middle East, and especially in Syria. "Beyond the military presence, we'll have to build peace," Mr. Macron said. Mr. Trump earlier warned Iran against resuming its nuclear program. "They're not going to be restarting anything. They restart it, they're going to have big problems, bigger than they've ever had before."